Welcome to Both Science Synergy. Today I'm going to teach about the basic concept of the hydrocarbons. What are hydrocarbons and what are their types and the basic concept of the nomenclature of the hydrocarbons. So let's start. What is the hydrocarbons? Hydrocarbons are those compounds which contains at least one hydrogen and carbon bond. At least one hydrogen and carbon bonds are called hydrocarbons. It means the compound must be at least one carbon and one hydrogen bond, one carbon and one hydrogen, one carbon and hydrogen bond at least. Okay. Example: cholesterol, methane, propane, ethanol, cell membrane, glucose, sugar, DNA, RNA. All the organic compounds are the hydrocarbons. Saturated hydrocarbons types. There are two types: saturated and unsaturated. Saturated hydrocarbons, the hydrocarbons which consist of only single bonds between carbon and carbon atoms. If there is single bond is present between the carbon and carbon and carbon carbon and carbon atoms in the hydrocarbon compounds, then this such type of the compounds are called the saturated hydrocarbons. All the alkanes are the saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Unsaturated hydrocarbons consist of at least one double or triple bond between the carbon and the carbon atoms. If there is double bond, at least double bond between the carbon and carbon atoms or triple bond between the carbon and the carbon atoms, then such type of the hydrocarbons are called unsaturated hydrocarbons. These are the alkenes and the alkynes. Alkenes, which contains at least one double bond between the carbon and carbon atoms. Such type of the compounds are the alkenes. And such type of the compounds which consist of at least one at least of one triple bond between carbon and carbon atoms, and at least one triple bond uh, at least one triple bonds in the hydrocarbons or the compounds are called the alkyne. Both alkene and the alkyne are unsaturated hydrocarbons because these consist of the two bonds and the three bonds in between the carbon and the carbon atoms respectively. And the number of carbon atoms: alkanes and alkynes, and their simple naming system. If there is one carbon atom is present, then the common words represents by meth, and if there are two, it is represented by eth meth. If there is three, then prop, and if there are four carbon atoms, then it's a but. If there are five, pent. If there are six carbon atoms, hex. If there are seven, hept. And if there are eight, and oct. So the starting letter will be meth, eth, prop, but, pent, hex, hept, oct. So for alkane, the general formula will be CnH2n plus 2. It means if there is n equals to 1, then H must be 2 into 1 plus 2. It means 4. And if there is 2 carbon atoms, then it must be H must be 6. And for case of alkenes, the general formula will be CnH2n plus 2. Sorry, CnH2n. If there are two carbon atoms, and the hydrogen must be 2 into 2, it means 4. And in case of alkynes, CnH2n minus 2 will be the general formula. And if the number of carbon atoms, if the number of carbon are 3, then the hydrogen must be 2 into 3 minus 2. It means 4. So this is the general idea of the alkane, alkene, alkynes. And for case of methane, only alkane is possible, and it has structure CH4. CH4 here, carbon is 1, so hydrogen must be 2 into 1 plus 2. It means 4. And there is no possibility of alkenes and all kinds of the methane groups. It means single carbon atoms. And for ethanes, if there is two carbon atoms, it called and it is alkane, then it is ethane. If the number of carbon atoms is 2 and the it is alkene, then it from two carbon atoms, and ene from it. Sorry, it is ethene, not ethane. It is ethene. It is ethene, not ethane. Ethene. So it ene from alkene and it from two carbon atoms. So it is ethene. And similarly, it from two carbon atoms and yne from alkyne. So it is ethyne. Similarly, for propane gas, prop from three carbon atoms and ane from alkane. Ane from alkane. So it is propane. And it has general formula C3H 2 into 3 plus 6. It means 8. So 8 hydrogen atoms are bonded with 3 carbon atoms. Here prop from 3 carbon atoms and yne from propene. Here is propene, not propine. Propene. So in case of prop from 3 carbon atoms, prop and in from alkene. So it is propene. It has a structure of C3H6. Similarly, here propine, prop from 3 carbon atoms and yne from alkyne. So it has, its name is propine, and it has the structure of it has general formula of C3H 2 into 3 6 minus 2. It means 4. C3H4. Similarly for butane, and here but from 4 carbon atoms and ene from alkene. So the name will be butene. Here but from 4 carbon atoms and yne from alkyne. So butane, pentane, pentine, pentine. Here hexane, hexine, heptane, and heptine, octane, and octine. General structure of the let us consider as structure of methane Ch4. It has 4 hydrogen atoms. So each hydrogen atom bonded from the 4 sided of the carbon atoms, and it is structure of, and it has such structures. So here hydrogen are 4, and it's, and one thing to remember that the carbon atom has always 4 bonds. It may these bond may be either double bonds or single bond, but it must have 4 bonds, because carbon electrons, valence electrons, outer valence electrons of the carbon consist of the 4 electrons, and the 4 electrons gains the 4 electrons, other 4 electrons, by forming covalent bonds with other atoms, and it completes its octet state. And becomes what? Stable. So to maintain its stability, it gains electrons from the 4 atoms, each from